Good evening, everybody. Tanner, how's it going? Uncle Brangus, it is good to see you. Katrina, Leighton, Layla, Brad, if you're there, it is good to see you as well. Catch 'em all, Kev came in early. Kara came in early. It is good to see you all. How's everybody doing? Got 6 people in here waiting. Sorry for the locale, y'all. I didn't have time to pull out everything, and my back has been a little bit hurting, so figured I would sit in the lazy boy tonight. Yo, BIA, how's it going, man? What's up, brother? What's up, Matt? I hope you're doing well, man. Sean Bowden, good to see you. So I felt kind of bad at the end of the stream on Saturday. It was super fun, y'all. Thanks so much for everybody that came and hung out and had fun, partied. Congrats to all the winners. I've been working on all those arts quite a bit, and I'm really enjoying them. Why I was a little bit sad is because I got mail from Pokegirl Jessie, and I didn't show you one of the coolest things that somebody has sent me thus far. And it was a little bit ago. I was on her stream, and I ended up winning something end of stream giveaway. And I just kind of asked, "Hey, can you draw me an energy?" And she was like, "Oh my God, I don't know. What do you want on it?" And I said, "I would like a Mimikyu." And she showed it off on stream. So if you weren't in that stream when she was showing it off, you have already seen it. But I wanted to make sure to take time and show everybody that Mimikyu. So look at that. Of course, it's reflecting like crazy, but this is a Mimikyu that was drawn for me by the one and only Pokegirl Jessie. Oh no, if you need to do this another... No, it's all good, man. Better days ahead. I love hearing it. Hello, New Zealand fam. Hope school went well and you are all doing good. I agree 100%. So, Jesse, thank you so much for that. It is an original piece. I have one of my own now, and now I might just make it a thing that every time I win somewhere, I might have you draw energies for me. So, but super inspiration. Thank you. Great artist from the core. Really hoping to see her tonight. But I wanted to take some time before we got going to recognize Pokegirl Jessie for that beautiful art. All right, we're going to solve this. I've been doing a lot of these, just kind of like in that mode of like solve it, scramble it, solve it, scramble it, solve it, scramble it. It's become almost absent-minded for me, which isn't a bad thing. You know, that's not a bad thing for me to have something to be absent-minded about. I do want to take this time while I'm solving this cube here. Say thank you all for joining us for relaxing and reading tonight. We are going to be reading the Patchwork Girl of Oz. I will say that this one is a little bit hard for me. Of course, for those that have been following, we did lose my mama ghost this past couple of weeks here, and the one thing that I know she always looked forward to, the one thing I knew she was always looking forward to was Monday stream. She loved just sitting and listening to me read. And one of the last things my mom ever said was, "I love the story. I can't wait to hear you finish it." And of course, you know, with all a heavy heart, she isn't going to be here to hear me finish it, although she will be here to hear me finish it. And I think I'm ready to. So we're going to finish the Patchwork Girl of Oz tonight in honor of the Mama Ghost. And then the next book we read is going to be actually one that Mama Ghost wrote and published herself. It is called Unspoken Secrets, it's called. What's up, Mystic? And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. But first, we're going to solve the cube, and we're going to get into that book. So it's also now settling down a milkshake each and homemade chocolate chip cookies. Let's go. Very, very happy for that. So yes, this night is a little bit special for me. And just a fair warning, any second now you might see Papa Ghost come through this door here. So just letting you know. It might make a loud noise. I don't know if my headset will pick it up, but if I jump, that's why. So really appreciate you all being here. We will give it another couple minutes while I solve and sip my coffee. She'll hear it finished. Yeah, I appreciate that, brother. It was one thing that I would say I get from my mom. My dad is a big reader also. My mom was more into the fantasy, romancy novels. Dad was more into the science books and things as such. So I had a nice little mixture of fantasy and reality as I was growing up. So, and now she will hear it finished tonight. Do want to give a shout out to my stepfather, Jimmy, if he happens to be around and listening. I love you, and appreciate you popping into our streams. It's fun having you around. I used to read more, not just make up stories and play them out in my head. That isn't a bad thing, Matt. The one thing that I started doing was doing a lot of that, looking at scenarios and how I would kind of plan around it. And then I realized that if I start writing them down, I can continue the thought. And so that's why I started writing like short stories and things like that. Short enough to keep track of, and yet long enough to hold interest. But I'm the exact same way, and now I much rather, I think I would rather listen to a story being read, but over these, 26 episodes for our normal series, and then we did 5 episodes for Christmas, 5 episodes. So we're like 30, 40 episodes into this, and I got to tell you, reading to y'all is one of my favorite things to do every single week. And so thank you for allowing me to read, because I get to read too with you all, as well as enjoy being here. So let me know what you were drinking in the chat. If it is something like coffee or tea, maybe something harder, maybe something not. But either way, I really appreciate everybody joining me to relax and read and jump into a world of Oz by Frank L. Baum. This is his 7th book in the series. And his 7th book in the series is called The Patchwork Girl of Oz, which is quite literally a girl that is made of parts of a patchwork quilt and then brought to life with magic. And we did get pretty good length into the book. Are we going to finish it tonight? I do not know. Drew said recently, let's go. But let me pull it up and we'll see. I reckon I got to remember what chapter I was on. During my trip back home, I started rereading the Dragons of Autumn Twilight on my Kindle. Beautiful book. Wish I could read that one to you. No, thank you. I can go back anytime to past stories and listen. It's a custom audiobook series that I don't have to pay for, but I do technically. Milkshakes seem to be one of the favorite drinks. I like strawberry shakes myself. No shot, Brangus. I'm a strawberry shake lover myself too. And Frosties from Wendy's. They have the new strawberry flavoring. So, Lori, it's good to see you. Your package is en route. I did a big mail out today, y'all. I got a lot of stuff coming to a lot of people. So, Lori, you are definitely one of them. And yeah, it's everything. So, I'm excited for you to get it. It's really good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Let's see where we at. We're about 9 minutes into it. We will give it one more second. Well, one more minute. And then we are going to read it. Yep, everything. It's on the way. It's en route. I've got the confirmation that it got sent out. So finally, everything is coming. Seconds up. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. Pizza Dude's got 30 seconds. Wise man said, patience is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza. Anybody remember the 30 minutes or less Domino's promise? Oh my goodness, I was just talking about you, Jesse. I felt terrible Saturday night. Saturday went great. We had fun. We played games. A bunch of people won a lot of cool stuff. But I received some mail from you. And I received mail. And it had one of the greatest things that I think I've ever received from somebody customly. And remember when I asked you to draw the Mimikyu? It has arrived. And so I did want to take a second and just shout it out. Pokey Girl Jessie came through, sent me a beautiful custom arted Mimikyu. And probably because a lot of people couldn't make it in 30 minutes, Sean. Yep, I got it, as well as all the other cards, which on Thursday I will share those on stream. But I wanted to share this one in particular, just to car accident. Oh, that's a good reason too. Wanted to shout it out. Appreciate you. Love you. This is beautiful, and I'm gonna display it on stream and henceforth. So thank you. Really appreciate it. And I'm going to start my next mail wrap up, and your art card is going to be in that next mail roundup. So, fresh strawberry milkshake is my favorite milkshake, and backup flavor is fresh banana milkshake. Having coffee right now. Coffee. Oh, yeah, I like it. I like it. It's so well done. So well done. I would grade it if I could. Manage a Domino's. That makes sense. That's good to know, Sean. That's good to know. Everybody drive safe out there. No sense in rushing to get anywhere. You will make it safely. And without further ado, got 13 of you in here. There's no coincidence as to why that is. 13 is the number. But I really, really appreciate you guys joining me. I'm glad that you're excited. I'm excited to get into it. It looks like we ended with chapter 8 is where we're going to start tonight in the Patchwork Girl of Oz, and it actually has to do with the foolish owl and the wise donkey. So without further ado, y'all, if this is your first time, welcome. I hope you do enjoy. If you're returning, I hope you enjoy it. I've missed you all. I've missed reading. And I hope this can provide you with a little relaxation. So it's good to see you, Mrs. 5150. 11 likes. Let's go. I used to eat at Domino's. I love Domino's. I lived off Domino's for a long time. So I didn't eat dinner yet. I had to end work a little bit late, and then I had to set up a little bit, but I have dinner waiting for me, and it's going to be more sandwiches. I'm a sandwich monster, so. Excellent. That's good to know. Hungry Howie's is probably my favorite, though. Chapter 8. The Foolish Owl and the Wise Donkey. On they went, and half an hour's steady walking brought them to a house somewhat better than the two they had already passed. It stood close to the roadside, and over the door was a sign that read, Miss Foolish Owl and Mr. Wise Donkey, Public Advisors. When Oho read this sign aloud, Scraps said laughingly, Well, here is a place to get all the advice we want. Maybe more than we need. Let's go in. The boy knocked at the door. Come in, called a deep bass voice. So they opened the door and entered the house, where the little light brown donkey, dressed in a blue apron and a blue cap, was engaged in dusting the furniture with a blue cloth. On a shelf over the window sat a great blue owl with a blue sunbonnet on her head, blinking her big round eyes at its visitors. Good morning, said the donkey, in his deep voice, which seemed bigger than he was. Did you come to us for advice? Why, we came anyhow, replied Scraps, and now we're here. We may as well get some advice. It's free, isn't it? Certainly, said the donkey. Advice doesn't cost anything unless you follow it. Permit me to say, by the way, that you are the queerest lot of travelers that I have ever come to my shop. Judging you merely by appearances, I think you'd better talk to the foolish owl yonder. They turned to look at the bird, which fluttered its wings and stared back at them with its big eyes. Hooty, tee, 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 hoot, cried the owl. Fiddle-cum-foo, how do you do? Riddle-cum, tiddle-cum, too-ra-la-loo. That beats your poetry, Scraps, said Oho. It's just nonsense, declared the glass cat. But it's good advice for the foolish, said the donkey admiringly. Listen to my partner, and you can't go wrong. said the owl in a grumbling voice. Patchwork Girl has come to life, no one's sweetheart, no one's wife, lacking sense and loving fun. She'll be snubbed by everyone. Quite a compliment, I declare, exclaimed the donkey, turning to look at Scraps. You are certainly a wonder, my dear, and I fancy you'd make a splendid pincushion. If you belonged to me, I'd wear smoked glasses when I looked at you. Why? Asked the Patchwork Girl. Because you are so gay and gaudy. It is my beauty that dazzles you, she asserted. You Munchkin people all strut around with your stupid blue color, while I— You're wrong in calling me a Munchkin, interrupted the donkey, for I was born in the land of Mo and came to visit the land of Oz on a day it was shut off from the rest of the world, so here I am obliged to stay, and I confess it is a very pleasant country to live in. Hooty hoot! Cried the owl. Oho searching for a charm, 'cause Uncle Nunky's come to harm. Charms are scarce, they're hard to get. Oho's got a job, you bet. Is the owl so very foolish? Asked the boy. Extremely so, replied the donkey. Notice what vulgar expressions she uses. But I admire the owl for the reason that she is positively foolish. Owls are supposed to be so very wise, generally, that a foolish one is unusual. And you perhaps know that anything more or anything unusual is sure to be interesting to the wise. The owl flapped its wings again, muttering these words. It's hard to be a glassy cat. No cat can be more hard than that. She's so transparent, every act. Too clear to us, that is a fact. Have you noticed my pink brains? Inquired Bungle proudly. You can see 'em work. Not in the daytime, said the donkey. You can't see very well by day, poor thing. But her advice is excellent. I advise you all follow it. The owl hasn't given us any advice as of yet, the boy declared. No? Then what do you call those sweet poems? Just foolishness, replied Oho. Scraps does the same thing. Foolishness, of course. To be sure, the foolish owl must be foolish, or she wouldn't be a foolish owl. You are very complimentary to my partner indeed, asserted the donkey, rubbing his foot hooves together as if highly pleased. The sign says that you are wise, remarked Scraps to the donkey. I wish you would prove it. With great pleasure, returned the beast. Put me to the test, my dear Patches, and I'll prove my wisdom in the wink of an eye. What is the best way to get to the Emerald City? Asked Oho. Walk, said the donkey. I know, but what road shall I take? Was the boy's next question. The road of yellow bricks, of course. It leads directly to the Emerald City. And how shall we find the road of yellow bricks? By keeping along the path you have been following. You'll come to the yellow bricks pretty soon, and you'll know them when you see them, because they are only yellow things in this blue country. Thank you, said the boy. At last you have told me something. Is that the extent of your wisdom? Asked Scraps. No, replied the donkey. I know many other things, but they wouldn't interest you. So I'll give you a last word of advice. Move on, for the sooner you do that, the sooner you'll get to the Emerald City of Oz. Hooty hoo, screeched the owl. Off you go, fast or slow. Where you're going, you don't know. Patches, Bungle, Munchkin lad, facing fortunes good and bad, meeting dangers grave and sad, sometimes worried, sometimes glad. Where you're going, you don't know, nor do I, but off you go. Sounds like a hint to me, said the Patchwork Girl. And then let's take it and go, replied Oho. They said goodbye to the wise donkey and the foolish owl, and at once resumed their journey. That was fun. Pizza puffs from Little Caesars. Warm sandwiches. Me and Maddie usually have it once a week. Let's go. Love that. Thank you, Jesse. When feeding 3 growing children, they need to night to eat food. Homegrown is the best for them. I agree. I agree. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that chapter. That's over. That chapter's done. All I could do was think of Owl and Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. All right, chapter 9. They meet the Woozy. There seem to be very few houses around here, after all, remarked Oho, after they had walked for a time in silence. Never mind, said Scraps. We're not looking for houses, but rather a road of yellow bricks. Won't it be funny to run across something yellow in this dismal blue country? There are worse colors than yellow in this country, asserted the Glass Cat in a spiteful tone. Oh, do you mean the pink pebbles you call your brains, and your red heart and green eyes? Asked the Patchwork Girl. No, I mean you, if you must know it, growled the cat. You're jealous, laughed Scraps. You'd give your whiskers for a lovely variegated complexion like mine. I wouldn't, retorted the cat. I have the clearest complexion in the world, and I don't employ a beauty doctor either. I see you don't, said Scraps. Please don't quarrel, begged Oho. This is an important journey, and quarreling makes me discouraged. To be brave, one must be cheerful. So I hope you will be as good-tempered as possible. They had traveled some distance, when suddenly they faced a high fence which barred any further progress straight ahead. It ran directly across the road and enclosed a small forest of tall trees, set close together. When the group of adventurers peered through the bars of the fence, they thought this forest looked more gloomy and forbidding than any they had seen before. They soon discovered that the path they had been following now made a bend and passed around the enclosure. But what made Oho stop and look thoughtful was a sign painted on the fence which read, "Beware of the Woozy." That means, he said, that there's a Woozy inside that fence, and the Woozy must be a dangerous animal, or they wouldn't tell people to beware of it. Let's keep out then, replied Scraps. That path is outside the fence, and Mr. Woozy may have all his little forest to himself for all we care. But one of our errands is to find a Woozy, Oho explained. The magician wants me to get 3 hairs from the end of a Woozy's tail. Let's go on and find some other Woozy, suggested the cat. This one is ugly and dangerous, or they wouldn't cage him up. Maybe we shall find another that is tame and gentle. Perhaps there isn't any other at all, answered Oho. The sign doesn't say, beware Woozy, it says, beware the Woozy, which means there is only one in all the land of Oz. Then, said Scraps, suppose we go in and find him. Very likely, if we ask him politely to let us pull 3 hairs out of the tip of his tail, he won't hurt us. It would hurt him, I'm sure, and that would make him cross, said the cat. You needn't worry, Bungle, remarked the Patchwork Girl, for if there is danger, you can climb a tree. Oho and I are not afraid, are we, Oho? I am a little, the boy admitted, but this danger must be faced. If we intend to save poor Unc Nunky, how shall we get over the fence? Climb, answered Scraps, and at once she began climbing up the rows of bars. Oho followed and found it more easy than he had expected. When they got to the top of the fence, they began to get down on the other side and soon were in the forest. The Glass Cat, being small, crept between the lower bars and joined them. Here there was no path of any sort, so they entered the woods, the boy leading the way, and wandered through the trees until they were nearly in the center of the forest. Now they came upon a clear space in which stood a rocky cave. So far they had met no living creature, but when Oho saw the cave, he knew it must be the den of the Woozy. It is hard to face any savage beast without sinking of the heart, and still more terrifying is to face an unknown beast, which you have never seen a picture of. So there is little wonder that the pulses of the Munchkin boy beat fast as he and his companion stood facing the cave. The opening was perfectly square, and about big enough to admit a goat. I guess the Woozy is asleep, said Scraps. Shall I throw in a stone and wake him? No, please don't, answered Oho, his voice trembling a little. I'm in no hurry. But he had not long to wait, for the Woozy heard the sound of the voices and came trotting out of his cave. As this is the only woozy that ever lived, either in the land of Oz or out of it, I must describe it to you. The creature was all squares and flat surfaces and edges. Its head was an exact square, like one of the building blocks a child plays with. Therefore, it had no ears, but heard sounds through two openings in the upper corners. Its nose, being in the center of its square surface, was flat, while the mouth was formed by an opening of the lower edge of the block. The body of the woozy was much larger than its head, but it's likewise block-shaped, being twice as long as it was wide and high. The tail, a square and stubby and perfectly straight, and the four legs, which were made in the same way, each being four-sided. The animal was covered in a thick, smooth skin and had no hair at all except at the extreme end of its tail, where there grew exactly 3 stiff, stubby hairs. This beast was dark blue in color, and his face was not fierce nor ferocious in expression, but rather good-humored and droll. Seeing the strangers, the woozy folded his hind legs as if he had been hinged and sat down to look at his visitors over. "Well, well," he exclaimed, "what a queer lot you are. At first I thought some of those miserable Munchkin farmers had come to annoy me, but I am relieved to find you in their stead. It is plain to me that you are a remarkable group, as remarkable in your way as I am in mine. And so you are welcome to my domain. Nice place, isn't it? But lonesome, dreadfully lonesome." "Why do they shut you up in here?" asked Scraps, who was regarding the queer square creature with much curiosity. "Because I eat up all the honey bees, which the Munchkin farmers who live around here keep them to make honey." "Are you fond of eating honey bees?" inquired the boy. "Very. They are really delicious. But the farmers did not like to lose their bees, and so they tried to destroy me. Of course, they couldn't do that." "Why not?" "My skin is so thick and tough that nothing can get through it to hurt me. So, finding they could not destroy me, they drove me to this forest and built a fence around me. Unkind, wasn't it?" "But what do you eat now?" asked Oho. "Nothing at all. I've tried the leaves from the trees and the moss and the creeping vines, and they don't seem to suit my taste. So, there being no honeybees here, I've eaten nothing for years." "You must be awfully hungry," said the boy. "I've got some bread and cheese in my basket. Would you like that kind of food?" "Give me a nibble, and I will try it. Then I can tell you better whether I'm grateful to my appetite," returned the woozy. So the boy opened his basket and broke off a piece of the loaf of bread. He tossed it towards the woozy, who cleverly caught it in his mouth and ate it in a twinkling. "It's rather good," declared the animal. "Any more? Try some cheese," said Oho, and threw down a piece. The woozy ate that too and smacked its long, thin lips. "Wow, that's mighty good," they exclaimed. "Any more?" "Plenty," replied Oho. So he sat down on a stump and fed the woozy bread and cheese for a long time, for no matter how much the boy broke off, the loaf and slice remained as big. "That'll do," said the woozy at last. "I'm quite full. I hope the strange food won't give me indigestion." "I hope not," said Oho. "It's what I eat." "Well, I must say I'm much obliged, and I'm glad you came," announced the beast. "Is there anything I can do in return for your kindness?" "Yes," said Oho earnestly. "You have it in your power to do me a great favor if you will." "What is it?" asked the woozy. "Name," said Oho with some hesitation. "3 hairs? Why, that's all I have. On my tail or anywhere else," exclaimed the beast. "I know, but I want them very much. They're my sole ornaments, my prettiest feature," said the woozy uneasily. "If I gave those up, those 3 hairs, I'm just a blockhead." "Yet I must have them," insisted the boy firmly, and he told the woozy all about the accident to Unc Nunkie and Margaret, and how the 3 hairs were to be a part of a magic charm that would restore them to life. The beast listened with attention, and when Oho had finished the recital, it said, with a sigh, "I always keep my word, if I pride myself on being square. So you may have the 3 hairs, and welcome. I think, under such circumstances, it would be selfish for me to refuse you." "Thank you. Thank you very much," cried the boy joyfully. "May I pull out the hairs now?" "Any time you like," answered the woozy. So Oho went to the queer creature, and taking hold of one of the hairs, began to pull. He pulled harder He pulled with all his might, but the hare remained fast. "What's the trouble?" asked the woozy, which Oho had dragged here and there all around the clearing with his endeavor to pull out the hare. "It won't come," said the boy, panting. "I was afraid of that," declared the beast. "You'll have to pull harder." "I'll help you," exclaimed Scraps, coming to the boy's side. "You pull the hare, and I'll pull you, and together we ought to get it out easily." "Wait a jiffy," called the woozy, and then it went to a tree and hugged it with its front paws so that its body couldn't be dragged around by the pole. "All ready now, go ahead." Oho gripped the hare with both hands and pulled with all his strength, while Scrap seized the boy round the waist and added her strength to his. But the hare wouldn't budge. Instead, it slipped out of Oho's hands, and he and Scraps both rolled upon the ground in a heap and never stopped until they bumped against the rocky cave. "Give it up," advised the glass cat as the boy arose and assisted the Patchwork Girl to her feet. "A dozen strong men couldn't pull out those hairs. I believe they're clinched on to the underside of the woozy's thick skin." "Then what shall I do?" asked the boy despairingly. "If on our return I fail to take these 3 hairs out to the crooked magician, the other things I have come to seek will be of no use at all, and we cannot restore Unc Nunkie and Margolette to life." "They're goners, I guess," said the Patchwork Girl. "Never mind," added the cat. "I can't see that old Unc and Margolette are worth all this trouble anyhow." But Oho did not feel that way. He was so disheartened when he sat down upon the stump and began to cry. The woozy looked at the boy thoughtfully. "Why don't you take me with you?" asked the beast. "Then, when at last you get to the magician's house, he can surely find a way to pull those 3 hairs." Oho was overjoyed at this suggestion. "That's it!" he cried, wiping away his tears and springing to his feet with a smile. "If I take the 3 hairs to the magician, it won't matter if they're still on your body." "It can't matter at the least," agreed the woozy. "Come on, then," said the boy, picking up his basket. "Let us start at once. I have several other things to find, you know." But the glass cat gave a little laugh and inquired, in her scornful tone, "How do you intend to get the beast out of the forest?" That puzzled them all for a time. "Let us go to the fence, and then we may find a way," suggested Scrap. So they walked through the forest to the fence, reaching it at a point exactly opposite to where they had entered the enclosure. "How did you get in?" asked the woozy. "We climbed over," answered Oho. "I can't do that," said the beast. "I'm a very swift runner, for I can overtake a honeybee as it flies, and I can jump very high, which is the reason they made such a tall fence to keep me in. But I can't climb at all. I'm too big to squeeze between the bars of the fence." Oho tried to think of what to do. "Can you dig?" he asked. "No," answered the woozy, "for I have no claws. My feet are quite flat on the bottom of them, nor can I gnaw away any boards, as I have no teeth." "You're not such a terrible creature, after all," remarked Scraps. "You haven't heard me growl, or you wouldn't say that," declared the woozy. "When I growl, the sound echoes like thunder all through the valleys of the woodlands, and children tremble with fear, and women cover their heads with their aprons, and big men run and hide. I suppose there is nothing in the world so terrible to listen to as the growl of a woozy." "Please don't growl, then," begged Oho earnestly. "There is no danger of my growling, for I am not angry. Only when angry do I utter my fearful, ear-splitting, soul-shattering growl. Also, when I'm angry, my eyes flash fire, whether I growl or not." "Real fire?" asked Oho. "Of course, real fire. Do you suppose they'll flash imitation fire?" inquired the woozy in an injured tone. "In that case, I've solved the riddle," cried Scraps, dancing with glee. "Those fence boards are made of wood, and if the woozy stands close to the fence and lets his eyes flash fire, they might set fire to the fence and burn it up. Then he could walk away with us easy, being free." "I have never thought of that plan, or I would have been free long ago," said the woozy. "But I cannot flash fire from my eyes unless I'm very angry." "Can't you get angry about something, please?" asked Oho. "I'll try, but just say 'Crizzle Crew' to me." "Will that make you angry?" inquired the boy. "Terribly angry." "What does it mean?" asked Scraps. "I don't know. That's what makes me so angry, replied the woozy. He then stood close to the fence with his head near one of the boards, and Scraps called out, Crizzle Crew! And then Oho said, Crizzle Crew! And the glass cat said, Crizzle Crew! And the woozy began to tremble with anger, and small sparks started from his eyes. Seeing this, they all cried, Crizzle Crew! Together, and that made the beast's eyes flash fire so fiercely that the fence board caught with the sparks and began to smoke. Then then it burst into flame, and the woozy stepped back and said triumphantly, Aha! That did the business all right. It was a happy thought for you all to yell together, for that made me as angry as I have ever been. Fine sparks, weren't they? Regular fireworks, cried Scraps admiringly. In a few moments the board had burned to a distance of several feet, leaving an opening big enough for them all to pass through. Oho broke some branches from a tree and with them whipped the fire until it was extinguished. We don't want to burn the whole fence down, he said, for the flames would attract the attention of the Munchkin farmers who would then come and capture the woozy again. I guess they'll be rather surprised when they find he's escaped. So they will, declared the woozy, chuckling gleefully. When they find I'm gone, the farmers will be badly scared, for they expect me to eat up their honeybees as I did before. That reminds me, said the boy, that you must promise not to eat honeybees while you're in our company. None at all. Not a bee. You would get us all into trouble, and we can't afford to have any more than is necessary. I'll feed you all the bread and cheese you want, and that must satisfy you. All right, I promise, said the woozy cheerfully. And when I promise anything, you can depend on it, 'cause I'm square. I don't see what difference that makes, observed the Patchwork Girl as they found the path and continued their journey. The shape doesn't make a thing honest, does it? Of course it does, returned the woozy, very decidedly. No one can trust that crooked magician, for instance, just because he is crooked, but a square woozy couldn't do anything crooked if he wanted to. I am neither square nor crooked, said Scraps, looking down at her plump body. No, you're round, so you're liable to do anything, asserted the woozy. Do not blame me, Miss Gorgeous, if I regard you with suspicion. May I stain ribbon as a cotton back? Many a satin ribbon has a cotton back. Scraps didn't understand this, but she had an uneasy misgiving that she had a cotton back herself. It would settle down at times and make her squat and dumpy, and then she had to roll herself on the road again until her body stretched out. Weird way to end a chapter. Great landscapers. Have as many, we want whatever we want. We live on 10 acres. Problem with all that is everything in a sight. Hey, E.T., how's it going, man? I have to keep an eye on them. You're right, we have 20 on the homestead. Our property isn't big enough. Yay! Yay! They got the woozy. And we're going to start chapter 10. Our garden is to accommodate the 6-year overwinter. Let's go. That's incredible. Hope you're doing well, E.T. and Evie. Kara, it's good to see you. Now we get to run into an old friend from one of the last books, who was the Shaggy Man. And we're going to start chapter 10, which is the Shaggy Man to the rescue. Really hoping that my computer battery stays on. I don't know why it's so dead. Shaggy Man to the rescue. Lurking and listening. Excellent. Hope you're doing well, Kara. I hope you saw your Lapras. I don't know if you did or not. Loving the story. I'm loving the story too, and this is a good one. I like the emphasis on not being judgeful by appearance. I'm going to have to game. I'll see you in the minute. Yeah, absolutely. Have a beautiful night, Mrs. 5150. I did and loved it. Excellent. Glad you did. I'll be getting that out sometime by the end of the month. Hope you have a good night, Mrs. Stafford. Oh, yeah, doing well, man. Been sitting here with my buddy. Haven't seen in a while, so catching him up on all the new stuff. His community and chilling. Excellent. Appreciate that. It's good to see you here. We're going to get into the Shaggy Man to the rescue. Everybody loves the Shaggy Man. They had not gone very far before Bungle, who had run on ahead, came bounding back to say that the road of yellow bricks was just before them. At once they hurried forward to see what this famous road looked like. It was a broad road, but not straight, for it wandered over hill and dale and picked out the easiest places to go. All its length and breadth was paved with smooth bricks of bright yellow color. So it was smooth and level, except in a few places where the bricks had crumbled or been removed, leaving holes that might cause unwary to stumble. I wonder, said Oho, looking up and down the road, which way to go. Where are you bound for? Asked the Woozy. The Emerald City. Then go west, said the Woozy. I know this road pretty well, for I've chased many a honey bee over it. Have you ever been to the Emerald City? Asked Scraps. No, but I'm very shy by nature, as you may have noticed, so I haven't mingled much in society. Are you afraid of men? Inquired the Patchwork Girl. Me? With my heart-rending growl, my horrible, shudderful growl? I should say not. I'm not afraid of anything, declared the Woozy. I wish I could say the same, sighed Oho. I don't think we need to be afraid when we get to the Emerald City, for Unk Nunky has told me that Ozma, the girl ruler, is very lovely and kind and tries to help everyone who is in trouble. But they say there are many dangers lurking on that road to the great fairy city, and so we must be very grateful, or very careful. I hope nothing will break me, said the Glass Cat in a nervous voice. I'm a little brittle, you know, and can't stand many hot knocks. If anything should fade the colors of my lovely patches, it would break my heart, said the Patchwork Girl. I'm not sure you have a heart, Oho reminded her. Then it would break my cotton, persisted Scraps. Do you think they're all fast colors, Oho? She asked anxiously. They seem fast enough when you run, he replied, and then, looking ahead of them, he exclaimed, Oh, what lovely trees! They were certainly pretty to look upon, and the travelers hurried forward to observe them more closely. Why, they're not trees at all, said Scraps. They're just monstrous plants. That is what they really were, masses of great broad leaves which rose from the ground far into the air, until they towered twice as high as the top of the Patchwork Girl's head, who was a little taller than Oho. The plants formed rows on both sides of the road, and from each plant rose a dozen or more of the big broad leaves which swayed continually from side to side. Although no wind was blowing, but the most curious thing about the swaying leaves was their color. They seemed to have a general groundwork of blue, but here and the other colors glinted at times through the blue, gorgeous yellows turning to pinks, purples, orange, and scarlet, mingled with more sober browns and grays, each appearing as a blotch or stripe anywhere on the leaf and then disappearing to be replaced by some other color of a different shape. The changeful coloring of the great leaves was very beautiful, but it was bewildering. It was bewildering as well, and the novelty of the scene drew our travelers close to the line of plants, where they stood watching them with rapid interest. Suddenly a leaf bent lower than usual and touched the Patchwork Girl, swiftly enveloped her in its embrace, covering her completely in its thick folds, and then swayed back upon its stem. Why, she's gone! Gasped Oho in amazement, and listening carefully he thought he could hear the muffled screams of Scraps coming from the center of the folded leaf. But before he could think of what he ought to do to save her, another leaf bent down and captured the Glass Cat, rolling around the little creature until she was completely hidden, and then straightening up again upon the stem. Look out! Cried the Woozy. Run fast, or you're lost! Oho turned and saw the Woozy running swiftly up the road, but the last leaf of the row of plants seized the beast even as he ran, and instantly he disappeared from sight. The boy had no chance of escape. Half a dozen of the great leaves were bending towards him from different directions, and as he stood hesitating, one of them clutched him in its embrace. In a flash, he was in the dark, Then he felt himself gently lifted until he was swaying in the air, with the folds of the leaf hugging him on all sides. At first he struggled hard to escape, crying out in anger, "Let me go! Let me go!" But neither struggles nor protests had any effect whatever. The leaf held him firmly, and he was a prisoner. Then Oho quieted himself and tried to think. Despair fell upon him when he remembered that all his little party had been captured, even as he was, and there was none to save them. "I might have expected it," he sobbed miserably. "I'm Oho, the unlucky. Something dreadful was sure to happen to me." He pushed against the leaf that held him and found it to be soft, but thick and firm. It was like a great bandage all around him, and he found it difficult to move his body or limbs in order to change their position. The minutes passed and became hours. Oho wondered how long he could live in such a condition, and if the leaf would gradually sap his strength and even his life in order to feed itself. The little Munchkin boy had never heard of any person dying in the land of Oz, but he knew one could suffer a great deal of pain. His greatest fear at this time was that he would always remain imprisoned in the beautiful leaf and never see the light of day again. No sound came to him through the leaf. All around was intense silence. Oho wondered if Scraps had stopped screaming or if the folds of the leaf prevented his hearing her. By and by he thought he heard a whistle, as of someone whistling a tune. Yes, it really must be someone whistling, he decided, for he could follow the strains of pretty Munchkin melody that Unc Nunkie used to sing to him. The sounds were low and sweet, although they reached Oho's ears very faintly. They were clear and harmonious. Could the leaf whistle? Oho wondered. Nearer and nearer came the sounds, and then they seemed to be just on the other side of the leaf that was hugging him. Suddenly the whole leaf toppled and fell, carrying the boy with it, and while he sprawled at full length, the fold slowly relaxed and set him free. He scrambled quickly to his feet and found a strange man was standing before him, a man so curious in appearance that the boy stared with round eyes. He was a big man with shaggy whiskers, shaggy eyebrows, shaggy hair, but kindly blue eyes that were gentle as those of a cow. On his head was a green velvet hat with a jeweled band, which was all shaggy around the brim. Rich but shaggy laces were at his throat, and coat with shaggy edges was decorated with diamond buttons. The velvet breeches and jeweled buckles on his knees and shags all around the bottom. On his breast hung a medallion bearing the picture of the Princess Dorothy of Oz, and in his hands he stood looking at Oho, was a sharp knife shaped like a dagger. "Oh!" exclaimed Oho, greatly astonished at the sight of the stranger, and then he added, "Who has saved me, sir?" "Can't you see?" replied the other with a smile. I'm the Shaggy Man." "Yes, I can see that," said the boy, nodding. "Was it you that rescued me from the leaf?" "None other, you may be sure. But take care, or I shall have to rescue you again." Oho gave a jump, for he saw several broad leaves leaning towards him. But the Shaggy Man began to whistle again, and at the sound the leaves all straightened up on their stems and kept still. The man now took Oho's arm and led him up the road past the last of the great plants, and not till he was safely beyond their reach did he cease his whistling. "You see, the music charms 'em," he said. "Singing or whistling, it doesn't matter which, makes 'em behave, and nothing else will. I always whistle as I go by 'em, and so they always let me alone. Today, as I went by whistling, I saw a leaf curled inside, and I knew there must be something inside it. I cut down the leaf with my knife, and out you popped. Luckily I passed, wasn't it?" "You were very kind," said Oho, "and I thank you. Will you please rescue my companions also?" "What companions?" asked the Shaggy Man. "The leaves grabbed them all," said the boy. "There was a Patchwork girl and—" "A what?" "A girl made of patchwork, you know. She's alive, and her name is Scraps. And there's a glass cat—" "Glass?" asked the Shaggy Man. "All glass. And alive?" "Yes," said Oho. "She has pink brains. And there's a woozy—" "What's a woozy?" inquired the Shaggy Man. "Why, I can't describe it," answered the boy, greatly perplexed. "But it's a queer animal with 3 hairs on the tip of its tail, and it won't come out, and it—" "What won't come out?" asked the Shaggy Man. "The tail?" "The hairs won't come out. But you'll see the woozy, if you'll please rescue it, and then you'll know just what it is." "Of course," said the Shaggy Man, nodding his shaggy head. And then he walked back among the plants, still whistling, and found the 3 leaves that were curled around Oho's traveling companions. The first leaf he cut down released Scraps, and on seeing her, the Shaggy Man threw back his shaggy head, opened wide his mouth, and laughed so scraggly and yet so merrily that Scraps liked him at once. Then he took off his hat and made her a very low bow, saying, "My dear, you are a wonder. I must introduce you to my friend the Scarecrow." When he cut down the second leaf, he rescued the glass cat, and Bungle was so frightened that she scampered away like a streak and soon had joined Oho, when she sat beside him, panting and trembling. The last plant of all the row had captured the Woozy, and the big bunch in the center of the curled leaf showed plainly where he was. With his sharp knife, the Shaggy Man sliced off the stem of the leaf as it fell and unfolded, out trotted the Woozy, and escaped beyond the reach of any more of the dangerous plants. Yay! Go, Shaggy Man! Hey, what's up, Dragon Wolf? Love story time. Appreciate you. 3 kids are listening while they draw, and I'm listening while I prepare everything for dinner. Kids want chicken burgers, and 2 adults are having steak burgers. Lurking for a little while, everyone. No worries at all, Katrina. Rats on Blade. Very well. I hope you're doing well. And no worries at all. We're just about to start chapter 11, which is a good friend. And we just ran into the Shaggy Man. But it is good to see you, Variel. I hope you're doing well. Got 11 of you ghosty readers in the chat, 17 likes. Really appreciate it. I'm going to fresh my coffee real quick, and I will be right back, y'all. Hope you're enjoying the story. This Patchwork girl is super funny, I say. Hot coffee is hot. Let's see, we started chapter 8. Might be able to make it to chapter 16. I think there's 24 chapters. We might have to do one more stream of this book here. But let me see. Really appreciate everybody being here. We're at chapter 11. Yep. So we should be able to make it chapter 14. All right. Chapter 11. Brand of coffee do you drink? So pretty well anything. I like the coffee. Folgers is a good one. Target has this like knockoff brand called, I think it's like Great Value or Up and something. But man, they make all these like special coffees that are all flavored like caramel macchiato, and they do like holiday blends of like sugar and spice and stuff like that. And so we typically just get a couple of those. They're pretty inexpensive and quite flavorful. How about you all? What kind of coffee do you drink? Fancy coffee. Up and up. It might be up and up. Yeah, it might be up and up. Love caramel. I love caramel macchiato as well. That's exactly what I'm drinking right now. Although I really don't mind coffee black. I just ran out of creamer. And it's a Korean brand. Ooh, I might have to try some of those. I'll need some recommendations on them. JB's Pokestop. It is good to see you, fam. Hope you're doing well. for the win, caramel macchiato. I'm also a big lover of cappuccinos. I love me a good cappuccino. Always good to see you too. I've tried Black Rifle coffee, Veteran Rain coffee. Actually cut down milk and hot chocolate. Okay. Put me to sleep by reading that is perfectly okay, Dragon Wolf. Chai tea latte. Okay. The Black Rifle I have not. I've heard of it though. That I've heard of, Sean. And that is totally okay, Dragon Wolf. Some people show up just to fall asleep, and that's okay. Still got 13 of you in here. Appreciate you guys. We're going to get back into chapter 11. I've learned to use coffee machine, so cappuccino is always in my cup. Let's go. It sounds really good. I like strong coffee too. Intense but good. Yeah, I like strong coffee. Chapter 11, A Good Friend. Soon, the entire party was gathered on the road of yellow bricks, quite beyond the reach of the beautiful but treacherous plants. The Shaggy Man, staring first at one and then the other, seemed greatly pleased and interested. "I've seen queer things since I came to the Land of Oz," said he, "but never anything queerer than this band of adventurers. Let us sit down a while and have a talk and get acquainted." "Haven't you always lived in the Land of Oz?" asked the Munchkin boy. "No, I used to live in the big outside world, but I came here once with Dorothy and Ozma let me stay." "How do you like Oz?" asked Scraps. "Isn't the country and the climate grand?" "It's the finest country in all the world, even if it is a fairyland, and I'm happy every minute I live in it," said the Shaggy Man. "But tell me something about yourselves." So Oho related the story of his visit to the house of the Crooked Magician, and how he met there the Glass Cat, and how the Patchwork Girl was brought to life, of the terrible accident to Unk Nunky and Margaret. Then he told how he set out to find the 5 different things which the magician needed to make the charm that would restore the marble figures to life. One requirement being 3 hairs from the Woozy's tail. "We found the Woozy," explained the boy, "and he agreed to give us all 3 hairs, but we couldn't pull him out, so we had to bring the Woozy along with us." "I see," returned the Shaggy Man, who had listened with interest to the story. "But perhaps I, who am big and strong, can pull those 3 hairs from the Woozy's tail." "Try it if you like," said the Woozy. So the Shaggy Man tried it, but pull as hard as he could, he failed to get the hairs out of the Woozy's tail. So he sat down again and wiped his shaggy face with a shaggy silk handkerchief and said, "It doesn't matter. If you can keep the Woozy until you get the rest of the things you need, you can take the beast and his 3 hairs to the Crooked Magician and let him find a way to extract them. What are the other things you're here to find?" "One," said Oho, "is a 6-leaved clover." "You ought to find that in the fields around the Emerald City," said the Shaggy Man. "There is a law against picking 6-leaved clovers, but I think I can get Ozma to let you have one." "Thank you," replied Oho. "The next thing is the left wing of a yellow butterfly." "For that you must go to the Winky Country," said the Shaggy Man. "I've never noticed any butterflies there, but that is the yellow country of Oz, and it's ruled by a good friend of mine, the Tin Woodman." "Oh, I've heard of him," exclaimed Oho. "He must be a wonderful man." "So he is, and his heart is wonderfully kind. I'm sure the Tin Woodman will do all in his power to help you to save your Unc Nunky and poor Margaret." "The next thing I must find," said the Munchkin boy, "is a gill of water from a dark well." "Indeed, well, that is more difficult," said the Shaggy Man, scratching his left ear in a puzzled way. "I've never heard of a dark well. Have you?" "No," said Oho. "Do you know where one may be found?" inquired the Shaggy Man. "I can't imagine," said Oho. "Then we must ask the Scarecrow." "The Scarecrow? But surely, sir, a Scarecrow can't know anything." "Most Scarecrows don't, I admit," answered the Shaggy Man. "But this Scarecrow of whom I speak is very intelligent. He claims to possess the best brains in all of Oz." "Better than mine?" asked Scraps. "Better than mine," echoed the Glass Cat. "Mine are pink. You can see 'em work." "Well, you can't see the Scarecrow's brains work, but they do a lot of clever thinking," asserted the Shaggy Man. If anyone knows where the dark well is, it's my friend the Scarecrow. Where does he live? Inquired Oho. He has a splendid castle in the Winky Country, near to the palace of his friend the Tin Woodman, and he is often to be found in the Emerald City, where he visits Dorothy at the royal palace. Then we will ask him about the dark well, said Oho. But what else does the crooked magician want? Asked the Shaggy Man. A drop of oil from a live man's body? Oh, but there isn't such a thing. That's what I thought, replied Oho, but the crooked magician said it wouldn't be called for by the recipe if it couldn't be found, and therefore I must search until I find it. I wish you good luck, said the Shaggy Man, shaking his head doubtfully, but I imagine you'll have a hard job getting a drop of oil from a live man's body. There's blood in the body, but no oil. There's cotton in mine, said Scraps, dancing a little jig. I don't doubt it, returned the Shaggy Man admiringly. You're a regular comforter, and as sweet as Patchwork can be. All you lack is dignity. I hate dignity, cried Scraps, kicking a pebble high into the air, and then trying to catch it as it fell. Half the fools and all the wise folks are dignified, and I'm neither one nor the other. She's just crazy, explained the cat. The Shaggy Man laughed. She's delightful in her way, he said. I'm sure Dorothy will be pleased with her. And the Scarecrow will dote on her. Did you say you were traveling towards the Emerald City? Yes, replied Oho. I thought that the best place to go at first, because the six-leaf clover may be found there. I'll go with you, said the Shaggy Man, and show you the way. Thank you, exclaimed Oho. I hope it won't put you out, Annie. No, said the other. I wasn't going anywhere in particular. I've been a rover all my life, and although Ozma has given me a suite of beautiful rooms in her palace, I still get the wandering fever once in a while and start out to roam the country over. I've been away from the Emerald City several weeks this time, and now that I've met you and your friends, I'm sure it will interest me to accompany you to the great city of Oz and introduce you to my friends. That will be very nice, said the boy gratefully. I hope your friends are not dignified, observed Scraps. Some are, and some are not, he answered. But I never criticize my friends. If they're really true friends, they may be anything they like for all of me. There's some sense in that, said Scraps, nodding her queer head in approval. Come on, let's get to the Emerald City as soon as possible. With this, she ran up the path, skipping and dancing, and then turned to await them. There's quite a distance from here to the Emerald City, remarked the Shaggy Man, so we shall not get there today, nor tomorrow. Therefore, let us take the jaunt in an easy manner. I'm an old traveler and have found that I never gain anything by being in a hurry. Take it easy is my motto. If you can't take it as easy as you can. After walking some distance over the road of yellow brick, Soho said he was hungry and would stop and eat some bread and cheese. He offered a portion of the food to the Shaggy Man, who thanked him but refused it. When I started out my travel, said he, I carried along enough square meals to last me several weeks. Think I'll indulge in one now, as long as we're stopping anyway. Saying this, he took a bottle out of his pocket, shook from it a tablet about the size of Oho's fingernail. That, announced the Shaggy Man, is a square meal, in condensed form. Invention of the great Professor Wogglebug, of the Royal College of Athletics. It contains soup, fish, roast meat, salad, apple, dumplings, ice cream, and chocolate drops, all boiled down to this small size, so it can be conveniently carried and swallowed when you're hungry and need a square meal. I'm square, said the Woozy. Give me one, please. So the Shaggy Man gave the Woozy a tablet from his bottle, and the beast ate it in a twinkling. You have now had 6-course dinner, declared the Shaggy Man. Pshaw, said the Woozy, ungratefully. I want to taste something. There's no fun in that sort of eating. One should only eat to sustain life, replied the Shaggy Man, and that tablet is equal to a peck of the other food. I don't care for it. I want something I can chew and taste, grumbled the Woozy. You're quite wrong, my poor beast, said the Shaggy Man in a tone of pity. Think how tired your jaws would get chewing a square meal like this, if it were not condensed to the size of a small tablet, which you can swallow up in a jiffy. Chewing isn't tiresome, it's fun, maintained the Woozy. I always chew at the honeybees when I catch them. Give me some bread and cheese, Oho. No, you've already eaten a big dinner, protested the Shaggy Man. Maybe, answered the woozy. But I guess I'll fool myself by munching some bread and cheese. I may not be hungry, having eaten all those things you gave me, but I consider this eating business a matter of taste, and I like to realize what's going into me. Oho gave the beast what he wanted, but the Shaggy Man shook his shaggy head reproachfully and said there was no animal so obstinate or hard to convince as a woozy. At this moment a patter of footsteps was heard, and looking up they saw the live phonograph standing before them. It seemed to have passed through many adventures since Oho and his comrades last saw the machine, for the varnish of its wooden case was all marred and dented and scratched in a way that gave it an aged and disreputable appearance. "Dear me!" exclaimed Oho, staring hard. "What has happened to you?" Nothing much," replied the phonograph in a sad and depressed voice. "I've had enough things thrown at me since I left you to shock a department store, to stock a department store, and furnish half a dozen bargain counters." "Are you so broken up that you can't play?" asked Scraps. No, I'm still able to grind out a delicious music. Just now I've a record on tap that is really superb," said the phonograph, growing more cheerful. "That is too bad," remarked Oho. "We've no objection to you as a machine, you know, but as a music maker we hate you." "Then why was I ever invented?" demanded the machine in a tone of indignant protest. They looked at one another inquiringly, and no one could answer such a puzzling question. Finally the Shaggy Man said, "I'd like to hear the phonograph play." Oho sighed. "We've been very happy since we've met you, sir," he said. "I know, but a little misery at times makes one appreciate happiness more. Tell me, Phony, what is this record like, which you say you have on tap?" "It's a popular song, sir, in all civilized lands. The common people have gone wild over it." "Makes civilized folk wild folk, huh? Then it's dangerous." "Wild with joy, I mean," explained the phonograph. "Listen, this song will prove a rare treat to you. I know. It made an author rich, for an author. It's called My Lulu." And then the phonograph began to play. A strain of odd, jerky sounds was followed by these words, sung by a man through his nose and with great vigor of expression. "I wants my Lulu, my coal black Lulu. I wants my Lulu, 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 Lulu. I loves my Lulu, my coal black Lulu. There ain't nobody else loves Lulu." "Here, shut that off!" cried the Shaggy Man, springing to his feet. "What do you mean by such impertinence?" "It's the latest popular song," declared the phonograph, speaking in a sulky tone of voice. "A popular song?" "Yes, one that the feeble-minded can remember the words of, and those ignorant of music can whistle or sing. That makes a popular song popular. And the time is coming when it will take the place of all the other songs." "That time won't come to us just yet," said the Shaggy Man sternly. "I'm something of a singer myself, and I don't intend to be throttled by any Lulus like your coal-black one. I shall take you all apart, Mr. Phony. I'll scatter your pieces far and wide over this country as a matter of kindness to the people you might have met if allowed to run around loose. Having performed this painful duty, I shall—" But before he could say any more, the phonograph turned and dashed up the road as fast as a forward table legs could carry it, and soon it had entirely disappeared from their view. The Shaggy Man sat down again and seemed well pleased. "Someone else will save me the trouble of scattering that phonograph," he says, "for it is not possible that such a music maker can last long in the land of Oz. When you are rested, friends, let us go on our way." During the afternoon the travelers found themselves in a lonely and uninhabited part of the country. Even the fields were no longer cultivated, and the country began to resemble a wilderness. The road of yellow brick seemed to have been neglected and became uneven and more difficult to walk upon. Scrubby underbrush grew on either side of the way, while huge rocks were scattered around in abundance. But this did not deter Oho and his friends from trudging on, and they beguiled their journey with jokes and cheerful conversation. Toward evening they reached a crystal spring, which gushed from a tall rock by the roadside. Near this spring stood a deserted cabin. Said the Shaggy Man, halting there, "We may as well pass the night here, where there is shelter for our heads and good water to drink. Road beyond here is pretty bad. Worse, we shall have to travel. So let's wait until morning before we tackle it." They agreed to this, and Oho found some brushwood in the cabin and made a fire on the hearth. The fire delighted Scraps, who danced before it until Oho warned her she might set fire to herself and burn up. After that, the Patchwork Girl kept a respectable distance from the dancing flames, but the Woozy laid down before the fire like a big dog and seemed to enjoy its warmth. For supper, the Shaggy Man ate one of his tablets, but Oho stuck with his bread and cheese as the most satisfying food. He also gave a portion to the Woozy. When darkness came on, they sat in a circle on the cabin floor facing the firelight. There being no furniture of any sort in the place, Oho said to the Shaggy Man, "Won't you tell us a story?" "I'm not good at stories," was the reply, "but I can sing like a bird." "Raven or crow?" asked the Glass Cat. "Like a songbird. I'll prove it. I'll sing a song I composed myself. Don't tell anyone I'm a poet. They might want me to write a book. Don't tell them I can sing, or they might want me to make records for that awful phonograph. Haven't time to be a public benefactor, so I'll just sing you this little song for your own amusement." They were glad enough to be entertained, and listened with interest while the Shaggy Man chanted the following verse to a tune that was not unpleasant. "I'll sing a song of Ozland, where wondrous creatures dwell, and fruits and flowers and shady bowlers abound on every dell, where magic is a science, and where no one shows surprise, if some amazing things take place before his very eyes. Our ruler, a bewitching girl, who fairies love to please. She's always kept her magic scepter to enforce decrees, to make her people happy, for her heart is kind and true, and to aid the needy and distressed is what she longs to do. And then there's Princess Dorothy, as sweet as any rose, a lass from Kansas, where they don't grow fairies, I suppose. And there's the brainy Scarecrow, with a body stuffed with straw, who utters words of wisdom rare that fill us all with awe. I'll not forget Nick Chopper, the woodman made of tin, whose tender heart thinks killing time is quite a dreadful sin. Nor old Professor Wogglebug, who's highly magnified, and looks so big to everyone that he is filled with pride. Jack Pumpkinhead's a dear old chum, who might be called a chump, but one renowned by riding around upon the magic Gump. A sawhorse is a splendid steed, and though he's made of wood, he does as many thrilling stunts as any meat horse could. And now I'll introduce a beast that everyone adores. A cowardly lion shakes with fear most every time he roars, and yet he does the bravest things that any lion might, because he knows that cowardice is not considered right. There's Tick-Tock, he's a clockwork man, quite a funny sight. He talks and walks mechanically when he's wound up tight. And we've a hungry tiger who would babies love to eat, but never does because we feed him other kinds of meat. It's hard to name all the freaks this noble land acquired. 'Twould make my song so very long that you would soon be tired. But give attention while I mention one wise yellow hen, and 9 tiny piglets living in a golden pen. Just search the whole world over, sail the seas from coast to coast. No other nation in creation queerer folk can boast. And now our rare museum will include a cat of glass, a woozy, and last but not least, a crazy patchwork lass. Oho was so pleased with the song that he applauded the singer by clapping his hands, and Scraps followed suit by clapping her padded fingers together, although they made no noise. The cat pounded on the floor with her glass paws, gently as so not to break them, and the woozy, which had been asleep, woke up and asked what the row was about. "I seldom sing in public for fear they might want me to start an opera company," remarked the Shaggy Man, who was pleased to know his efforts was appreciated. "Voice just now is a little out of training, rusty perhaps." "Tell me," said the Patchwork Girl earnestly, "do all those queer people you mentioned really live in the land of Oz?" "Every one of them. I even forgot one thing, Dorothy's pink kitten." "For goodness sake!" exclaimed Bungle, sitting up and looking interested. "A pink kitten? How absurd! Is it glass?" No, just ordinary kitten. Then I can't amount to much. I have pink brains. You can see 'em work. Dorothy's kitten is all pink, brains and all, except blue eyes. Name's Eureka. Great favorite in the royal palace, said the Shaggy Man, yawning. The glass cat seemed annoyed. Do you think the pink kitten, common meat, is as pretty as I am? She asked. Can't say. Tastes differ, you know, remarked the Shaggy Man, yawning again. But there's a pointer that may be of service to you. Make friends with Eureka, and you'll be a solid at the palace. I'm solid now, solid glass. You don't understand, rejoined the Shaggy Man sleepily. Anyhow, make friends with the pink kitten, and you'll be all right. If the pink kitten despises you, look out for breakers. Would anyone at the royal palace break a glass cat? Might. You never can tell. Advise you to purr soft and look humble, if you can. And now, I'm going to bed. Bungo considered the Shaggy Man's advice so carefully that her pink brains were busy long after the others were fast asleep. My turn to play, so night again. Good night, Miss 5150. Thank you, grandchildren, talented. So talented. Teach them what they know. Just like their moms love it. Hey, Charizard MB, it's good to see you. Lulu is a dog from a movie called Dog. That is true. That is true. It is good to see you guys. Appreciate you being here. Got 7 of you still here. 22 likes. Chapter 12. We're going to do 12, 13, and 14. And then we will be wrapping it up. I'm hoping that my battery lasts. Ooh, we get to meet another interesting creature. And for the record, that was one of my favorite poems I've read thus far. And yet I would have sang the whole thing, but that would have taken some time. So appreciate your patience with me there. Let's get into chapter 12, which is the Great Porcupine, which are just cute. Porcupines are cute. Make it to the end. Excellent. I love having you here, Brangus. Chapter 12, The Great Porcupine. Next morning, they started out bright and early to follow the road of yellow bricks toward the Emerald City. The little Munchkin boy was beginning to feel tired from his long walk, and he had a great many things to think of and consider besides the events of the journey. At the wonderful Emerald City, which he would presently reach, were so many strange and curious people that he was half afraid of meeting them and wondered if they would prove friendly and kind. Above all else, he could not drive from his mind the important errand on which he had come, and he was determined to devote every energy to finding the things that were necessary to prepare the magic recipe. He believed that until dear Unc Nunkie was restored to life and he could feel no joy in anything, and often he wished that Unc could be with him to see all the astonishing things Oho was seeing. But alas, Unc Nunkie was now a marble statue in the house of the crooked magician, and Oho must not falter in his efforts to save them. The country, though, which they were passing through was still rocky and deserted, with here and there a brush or tree to break the dreary landscape. Oho noticed one tree, especially because it had such long silky leaves and was so beautiful in shape. As he approached it, he studied the tree earnestly, wondering if any fruit grew on it or if it bore pretty flowers. Suddenly he became aware that he had been looking at that tree a long time, at least for 5 minutes, and it had remained in the same position, although the boy had continued to walk steadily on. So he stopped short, and when he stopped, the tree and all the landscape, as well as his companions, moved on before him and left him far behind. Oho uttered such a cry of astonishment that it aroused the Shaggy Man, who also halted. The others then stopped too and walked back to the boy. "What's wrong?" asked the Shaggy Man. "Why, we're not moving forward a bit, no matter how fast we walk," declared Oho. "Now that we've stopped, we are moving forward. Now that we have stopped, we are moving backward. Can't you see? Just notice that rock." Scraps looked down at her feet and said, "The yellow bricks are not moving." "But the whole road is," answered Oho. "True, Quite true, agreed the Shaggy Man. I know all about the tricks of this road, but I've been thinking of something else and didn't realize where we were. It will carry us back to where we started from, predicted Oho, beginning to be nervous. No, replied the Shaggy Man. It won't do that, for I know a trick to beat this tricky road. I've traveled this way before, you know. Turn around, all of you, and walk backwards. What good will that do? Asked the cat. You'll find out if you obey me, said the Shaggy Man, so they all turned their backs to the direction in which they wished to go and began walking backwards. In an instant, Oho noticed they were gaining ground, and as they proceeded in this curious way, they soon passed the tree, which had first attracted his attention to their difficulty. How long must we keep this up, Shags? Asked Scraps, who was constantly tripping and tumbling down, only to get up again with a laugh at her mishap. Just a little way further, answered the Shaggy Man. A few minutes later, he called to them to turn around quickly and step forward, and as they obeyed the order, they found themselves treading solid ground. That task is well over, observed the Shaggy Man. It's a little tiresome to walk backwards, but that is the only way to pass this part of the road, which has a trick of sliding back and carrying with it anyone who walks upon it. The new courage and energy, they now trudged forward, and after a time came to a place where the road cut through a low hill, leaving high banks on either side of it. They were traveling along this cut, talking together, when the Shaggy Man seized Scraps with one arm and Oho with the other and shouted, Stop! Oh, what's wrong now? Asked the Patchwork Girl. See there? Answered the Shaggy Man, pointing with his finger. Directly in the center of the road lay a motionless object that bristled all over with sharp quills, which resembled arrows. The body was as big as a 10-bushel basket, but that projecting quills made it appear 4 times bigger. Well, what is it? Said Scraps. That is Chiss, who causes a lot of trouble along this road, was the reply. Chiss? What is Chiss? I think it is merely an overgrown porcupine, but here in Oz they consider Chiss an evil spirit. He's different from a regular porcupine because he can throw his quills in any direction, which an American porcupine cannot do. That's what makes old Chiss so dangerous. If we get too near, he'll fire those quills at us and hurt us badly. Then we will be foolish to get too near, said Scraps. I'm not afraid, declared the Woozy. The Chiss is cowardly, I'm sure, and if it had ever heard my awful, terrible, frightful growl, it would be scared stiff. Oh, can you growl? asked the Shaggy Man. That is the only ferocious thing about me, asserted the Woozy with evident pride. My growl makes an earthquake blush and the thunder ashamed of itself. If I growled at the creature you call Chiss, it would immediately think the world had cracked in two and bumped against the sun and moon, and that would cause the monster to run as far and as fast as its leg could carry it. In that case, said the Shaggy Man, you are now able to do us all a great favor. Please growl. But you forget, returned the Woozy. My tremendous growl would also frighten you, and if you happen to have heart disease, you might expire. True, but we must take that risk, decided the Shaggy Man bravely. Being warned of what is to occur, we must try to bear the terrific noise of your growl. But Chiss won't expect it, and it will scare him away. The Woozy hesitated. I'm fond of you all, and I hate to shock you, it said. Never mind, said Oho. You may be made deaf. If so, we'll forgive you. Very well, then, said the Woozy in a determined voice, and advanced a few steps toward the giant porcupine, pausing to look back and asked, All ready? All ready, they answered. Then cover up your ears and brace yourself firmly. Now then, look out. The Woozy turned towards Chiss, opened wide its mouth, and said, Coo-ya! Go ahead and growl, said Scraps. Why, I did growl, retorted the Woozy, who seemed much astonished. What? That little squeak? She cried. It was the most awful growl that ever was heard on land or sea, in caverns or in the sky, protested the Woozy. I wonder you stood the shock so well. Didn't you feel the ground tremble? I suppose Chiss is now quite dead with fright. The Shaggy Man laughed merrily. Poor Wooz, said he, your growl wouldn't scare a fly. The Woozy seemed to be humiliated and surprised. It hung its head a moment as if in shame or sorrow. But then it said, with renewed confidence, anyhow, my eyes can flash fire, a good fire, too, good enough to set fire to a fence. That is true, declared Scraps. I saw it done myself. But your ferocious growl isn't as loud as the tick of a beetle, or one of Oho's snores when he's fast asleep. Perhaps, said the Woozy humbly. I have been mistaken about my growl. It has always sounded very fearful to me, but that might be because it was so close to my ears. Never mind, Ho-Ho said soothingly. It is a great talent to be able to flash fire from your eyes. No one else can do that. As they stood hesitating, what to do with Chiss stirred, and suddenly a shower of quills came flying toward them, almost filling the air. There were so many. Scraps realized in an instant that they had gone too near Chiss for safety, so she sprang in front of Oho and shielded him from the darts, which stuck their points into her own body until she resembled one of those targets they shoot arrows at in archery games. The Shaggy Man dropped flat on his face to avoid the shower, but one of the quills struck him in the leg and went far in. As for the glass cat, the quills rattled off her body without making even a scratch, and the skin of the Woozy was so thick and tough that it did not hurt at all. When the attack was over, they all ran to the Shaggy Man, who was moaning and groaning, and Scraps promptly pulled the quill out of his leg. Then he jumped and ran over to Chiss, putting his foot on the monster's neck and holding it a prisoner. The body of the great porcupine was now as smooth as leather except for the holes where the quills had been, for it had shot every single quill in that one wicked shower. Let me go, it shouted angrily. How dare you put your foot on Chiss? I'm going to do worse than that, old boy, replied the Shaggy Man. You have annoyed travelers on this long road long enough, and now I shall put an end to you. You can't, returned Chiss. Nothing can kill me, as you know perfectly well. Perhaps that is true, said the Shaggy Man in a tone of disappointment. Seems to me I've been told before that you can't be killed. But if I let you go, what will you do? And pick up my quills again, said Chiss in a sulky tone. And then shoot them at more travelers? No, that won't do. You must promise me to stop throwing quills at people. I won't promise anything of the sort, declared Chiss. Why not? Because it's my nature to throw quills, and every animal must do what nature intends it to do. It isn't fair for you to blame me. If it were wrong for me to throw quills, then I wouldn't be made with quills to throw. The proper thing for you to do is to keep out of my way. Why, there's some sense in that argument, admitted the Shaggy Man thoughtfully. But people who are strangers and don't know who you are won't be able to keep out of your way. Tell you what, said Scraps, who was trying to pull the quills out of her own body. Let's gather up all the quills and take them away with us. Then old Chiss won't have any left to throw at people. That's a clever idea. You and Oho must gather up the quills while I hold this Chiss prisoner, for if I let him go, he'll get some of his quills and be able to throw them again. So Scraps and Oho picked up all the quills and tied them in a bundle so they might easily be carried. After this, the Shaggy Man released Chiss and let him go, knowing that he was harmless to injure anyone. It's the meanest trick I ever heard of, muttered the porcupine gloomily. How would you like it, Shaggy Man, if I took all your shags away from you? If I threw my shags and hurt people, you would be welcome to capture them, was the reply. Then they walked on and left Chiss standing in the road, sullen and disconsolate. The Shaggy Man limped as he walked, for his wounds still hurt him, and Scraps was much annoyed because the quills had left a number of small holes in her patches. When they came to a flat stone by the roadside, the Shaggy Man sat down to rest, and then Oho opened his basket and took out a bundle of charms the crooked magician had given him. I'm Oho the Unlucky, he said, or we never have met that dreadful porcupine. But I will see if I can find anything among these charms that will cure your leg. Soon he discovered that one of the charms was labeled 4 flesh wounds, and at this the boy separated from the others. It was only a bit of dried root taken from some unknown shrub, but the boy rubbed it upon the wound made by the quill, and in a few minutes the place was healed entirely, and the Shaggy Man's leg was as good as ever. Rub it on the holes of my patches, suggested Scraps, and Oho tried it, but without any effect. The charm you need is a needle and thread, said the Shaggy Man. But do not worry, my dear, those holes do not look badly at all. They'll let in air, and I don't want people to think I'm airy, or that I've been stuck up, said the Patchwork Girl. You were certainly stuck up until we pulled out those quills, observed Oho with a laugh. So now they went on again, and coming presently to a pond of muddy water, they tied a heavy stone to the bundle of quills and sunk it to the bottom of the pond to avoid carrying it further. Geez, poor Porcupine. Poor Porcupine. Yeah, should be fine. All right. Chapter 13. It looks like our two greatest quirky friends, Scraps and the Scarecrow, get to meet each other. Chapter 13. Scraps and the Scarecrow. From here on, the country improved, and the desert places began to give way to fertile spots. Still no houses were yet to be seen near the road. There were some hills with valleys between them, and on reaching the top of one of these hills, the travelers found before them a high wall, running to the right and to the left as far as their eyes could reach. Immediately in front of them, where a wall crossed the roadway, stood a gate having stout iron bars that extended from top to bottom. They found, on coming nearer, that this gate was locked with a great padlock, rusty through lack of use. Well, said Scraps, I guess we'll stop here. That's a good guess, replied Oho. Our way is barred by this great wall and gate. Looks like no one's passed through here in many years. Looks are deceiving, declared the Shaggy Man, laughing at their disappointed faces. And this barrier is the most deceiving thing in all of Oz. It prevents our going further anyhow, said Scraps. There's no one to mind the gate and let people through, and we've no key to the padlock. True, replied Oho, going a little nearer to peep through the bars of the gate. What should we do, Shaggy Man? If we had wings, we might fly over the wall. But we cannot climb it unless we can get to the Emerald City. I won't be able to find the things to restore Unk Nunky to life. All very true, answered the Shaggy Man quietly. But I know this gate, having passed through it many times. How? They all eagerly inquired. I'll show you how, he said. He stood Oho in the middle of the road and placed Scraps just behind him with her padded hands on his shoulder. After the Patchwork Girl came the Woozy, who held a part of her skirt in its mouth. Then the last of all was the Glass Cat, holding fast to the Woozy's tail with her glass jaws. Now, said the Shaggy Man, you must all shut your eyes tight and keep them shut until I tell you to open them. I can't, objected Scraps. My eyes are buttons. They won't shut. So the Shaggy Man tied his red handkerchief over the Patchwork Girl's eyes and examined all the others to make sure they had their eyes fast shut and could see nothing. What's the game, anyhow? Blind man's bluff? Asked Scraps. Keep quiet, commanded the Shaggy Man sternly. All ready? Then follow me. He took Oho's hand and led him forward over the road of yellow bricks toward the gate. Holding fast to one another, they all followed in a row, expecting every minute to bump against the iron bars. The Shaggy Man also had his eyes closed, but marched straight ahead, nevertheless. And after he had taken 100 steps, by actual count, he stopped and said, Now you may open your eyes. They did so, and to their astonishment found the wall and the gateway far behind them, while in front of the former blue country of the Munchkins had given way to green fields, with pretty farmhouses scattered among them. That wall, explained the Shaggy Man, is what is called an optical illusion. It is quite real while you have your eyes open, but if you're not looking at it, the barrier does not exist at all. It's the same way with many other evils in life. They seem to exist, and yet it's all seeming and not true. You will notice that the wall, or what we thought was a wall, separates the Munchkin country from the green country that surrounds the Emerald City, which lies exactly in the center of Oz. There are 2 roads of yellow bricks through the Munchkin country, but the one we followed is the best of the 2. Dorothy once traveled the other way and met with more dangers than we did. But all our troubles are over for the present, as another day's journey will bring us to the great Emerald City. They were delighted to know this and proceeded with new courage. In a couple of hours, they stopped at a farmhouse where the people were very hospitable and invited them to dinner. The farm folk regarded Scraps with much curiosity, but no great astonishment, for they were accustomed to seeing extraordinary people in the land of Oz. The woman of this house got her needle and thread and sewed up the holes made by the porcupine quills in the Patchwork Girl's body, after which Scraps was assured she looked as beautiful as ever. "You ought to have a hat to wear," remarked the woman, "for that would keep the sun from fading the colors of your face. I have some patches and scraps put away. If you will wait 2 or 3 days, I'll make you a lovely hat that will match the rest of you." "Never mind the hat," said Scrap, shaking her yarn braids. "It's a kind offer, but we can't stop. I can't see that my colors have faded in particular as of yet, can you?" "Not much," replied the woman. "You're still very gorgeous, in spite of all your long journey." The children of the house wanted to keep the glass cat to play with, so Bungle was offered a good home if she would remain. But the cat was much too interested in Oho's adventures and refused to stop. "Children are rough playmates," she remarked to the Shaggy Man, "and although this home is more pleasant than that of the crooked magician, I fear I should soon be smashed to pieces by the boys and girls." After that they rested themselves. They renewed their journey, finding the road now smooth and pleasant to walk upon, and the country growing more beautiful the nearer they drew to the Emerald City. By and by Oho began to walk on the green grass, looking carefully around him. "What are you trying to find?" asked Scraps. "A six-leaf clover," he said. "Don't do that!" exclaimed the Shaggy Man earnestly. "It's against the law to pick six-leaf clover. You must wait until you get Ozma's consent." "She wouldn't know it," declared the boy. "Ozma knows many things," said the Shaggy Man. "In her room is a magic picture that shows any scene in the land of Oz where strangers or travelers happen to be. She may be watching that picture of us even now, and noticing everything that we do." "Does she always watch the magic picture?" asked Oho. "Not always, for she has many other things to do, but, as I said, she may be watching us this very minute." "I don't care," said Oho, in an obstinate tone of voice. "Ozma's only a girl." The Shaggy Man looked at him in surprise. "You ought to care for Ozma," said he, "if you expect to save your uncle for. If you displease our powerful ruler, your journey will surely prove a failure, whereas if you make a friend of Ozma, she will gladly assist you. As for her being a girl, that is another reason why you should obey her laws. If you are courteous and polite, everyone in Oz loves Ozma and hates her enemies, for she is powerful." Oho sulked a while, but finally returned from the road and kept away from the green clovers. The boy was moody and bad-tempered for an hour or two afterwards because he could really see no harm in picking a six-leaf clover, if he found one, and in spite of what the Shaggy Man said, he considered Ozma's law to be unjust. They presently came to a beautiful grove of tall and stately trees, though one of the through which the road wound in sharp curves, first one way, then the other. As they were walking through this grove, they heard someone in a distance singing, and the sounds grew nearer and nearer until they could distinguish the words. Although the bend in the road still hid the singer, the song was something like this: here's to the hail, old bale of straw, that's cut from the waving grain, the sweetest sight man ever saw in forest, dell, or plain. It fills me with crunkling joy, a straw stack to behold, for then I pad this lucky boy with strands of yellow gold." "Ah!" exclaimed the Shaggy Man, "here comes my friend the Scarecrow." "What, a live scarecrow?" said Oho. "Yes, the one I told you of. He's a splendid fellow and very intelligent. You'll like him, I'm sure." Just then the famous Scarecrow of Oz came around the bend in the road, riding astride the wooden sawhorse, which was so small that its rider's legs nearly touched the ground. The Scarecrow wore a blue dress of the Munchkins, in which country he was made, and on his head was set a peaked hat with a flat brim trimmed with tinkling bells.
A rope was tied around his waist to hold him in shape, for he was stuffed with straw in every part of him except the top of his head, where at one time the Wizard of Oz had placed sawdust mixed with needles and pins to sharpen his wits. The head itself was merely a bag of cloth fastened to the body and the neck. At the neck and on the front of this bag was painted a face, ears, eyes, nose, and mouth. The Scarecrow's face was very interesting, for it bore a comical and yet winning expression. Although one eye was a bit larger than the other and ears were not mates, the Munchkin farmer who had made the Scarecrow had neglected to sew him together with close stitches, and therefore some of the straw with which he was stuffed was inclined to stick out between the seams. His hands consisted of padded white gloves with the fingers long and rather limp, and on his feet he wore the Munchkin boots of blue leather with broad turns at the tops of them. The Sawhorse was almost as curious as its rider. It had been rudely made in the beginning to saw logs upon, so that its body was a short length of a log, and its legs were stout branches fitted into 4 holes made in the body. The tail was formed from a small branch that had been left on the log, while the head was a gnarled bump on one side of the body. 2 knots of wood formed the eyes, and the mouth was a gnash chopped in the log. When the Sawhorse first came to life, it had no ears at all, and so it could not hear, but the boy who then owned him had whittled 2 ears out of bark and stuck them on his head, for which the Sawhorse heard very distinctly. This queer wooden horse was a great favorite with Princess Ozma, who had caused the bottom of its legs to be shod with plates of gold so the wood would not wear away. Its saddle was made of cloth of gold, richly encrusted with precious gems. It had never worn a bridle. As the Scarecrow came in sight of the party of travelers, he reined in on the wooden steed and dismounted, greeting the Shaggy Man with a smiling nod. Then he turned to stare at the Patchwork Girl in wonder, while she, in turn, stared at him. "Shags," he whispered, drawing the Shaggy Man aside. "Pat me into shape. There's a good fellow." While his friend punched and patted the Scarecrow's body to smooth out the humps, Scraps turned to Oho and whispered, "Roll me out, please. I've sagged so dreadfully from the walk, and so much men like to see a stately figure." She then fell upon the ground, and the boy rolled her back and forth like a rolling pin until the cotton had filled all the spaces in her patchwork, covering and the body had lengthened to its fullest extent. Scraps and the Scarecrow both finished their hasty toilets at the same time, and again they faced each other. "Allow me, Miss Patchwork," said the Shaggy Man, "to present my friend, the Right Royal Scarecrow of Oz. Scarecrow, this is Miss Scraps Patches. Scraps, this is Scarecrow. Scarecrow, Scraps. Scraps, Scarecrow." They both bowed with much dignity. "Forgive me for staring so rudely," said the Scarecrow, "but you are the most beautiful sight my eyes have ever beheld." "That is a high compliment from one who is himself so beautiful," murmured Scraps, casting down her suspender button eyes by lowering her head. "But tell me, good sir, are you not a trifle lumpy?" "Yes, of course, that is my straw, you know. It bunches up sometimes, in spite of all my efforts to keep it even. Doesn't your straw ever bunch?" "Oh, I'm stuffed with cotton," said Scraps. "It never bunches, but it's inclined to pack down and make me sag." "But cotton is a high-grade stuffing. I may say it is even more stylish, not to say aristocratic, than straw," said the Scarecrow politely. "Still, it is but proper that one so enticingly lovely should have the best stuffing there is going. I'm so glad to have met you, Miss Scraps. Introduce us again, Shaggy." "Once is enough," replied the Shaggy Man, laughing at his friend's enthusiasm. "Then tell me where you found her, and dear me, what a queer cat. What are you made of, gelatin?" "Pure glass," answered the cat, proud to have attracted the Scarecrow's attention. "I am much more beautiful than the Patchwork Girl. I am transparent, and Scraps isn't. I've pink brains. You can see them work. And I've a ruby heart, finely polished, while Scraps hasn't any heart at all." "No more than I," said the Scarecrow, shaking hands with Scraps as if to congratulate her on the fact. "I have a friend, the Tin Woodman, who has a heart, but I find I get along pretty well without one. And so, well, here's a little munchkin boy, too. Shake hands, my little man. How are you? Oho placed his hands on the flabby stuffed glove that served as the Scarecrow's for a hand, and the Scarecrow pressed it so cordially that the straw in his glove crackled. Meantime, the Woozy had approached the Sawhorse and began to sniff at it. The Sawhorse resented its familiarity, and with a sudden kick pounded the Woozy squarely on the head with one gold-shod foot. "Take that, you monster!" it cried greedily. The Woozy never even winked. "To be sure," he said, "I'll take anything I have to. But don't make me angry, you wooden beast, or my eyes will flash fire and burn you up." The Sawhorse rolled its knotted eyes wickedly and kicked again, but the Woozy trotted away and said to the Scarecrow, "What a sweet disposition that creature has. I advise you to chop it up for kindling wood and use me to ride upon. My back is flat, and you can't fall off." "I think the trouble is that you haven't been properly introduced," said the Scarecrow, regarding the Woozy with much wonder, for he had never seen such a queer animal before. "The Sawhorse is a favorite steed of Princess Ozma, the ruler of the land of Oz, and he lives in a stable decorated with pearls and emeralds at the rear of the royal palace. He is swift as the wind, untiring, and is so kind to his friends. All the people of Oz respect the Sawhorse highly. And when I visit Ozma, she sometimes allows me to ride him, as I am doing today. Now you know what an important personage the Sawhorse is, and if someone, perhaps yourself, will tell me your name, your rank and station, and your history, it will give me great pleasure to relate them to the Sawhorse. This will lead to a mutual respect and friendship." The Woozy was somewhat abashed by this speech and did not know how to reply, but Oho said, "This square beast is called the Woozy, and he isn't much of importance except that he has 3 hairs growing on the tip of his tail." The Scarecrow looked and saw that this was true. "But," said he in a puzzled way, "what makes those 3 hairs important? The Shaggy Man has thousands of hairs, but no one has ever accused him of being important." So Oho related the sad story of Unk Nunky's transformation into a marble statue, and told how he set out to find the things the crooked magician wanted in order to make the charm that would restore his uncle to life. One of the requirements was 3 hairs from a Woozy's tail, but not being able to pull out the hairs, they had been obliged to take the Woozy with them. The Scarecrow looked grave as he listened, and he shook his head several times as if in disapproval. "We must see Ozma about this matter," he said. "That crooked magician is breaking the law by practicing magic without a license, and I'm not sure Ozma will allow him to restore your uncle to life." "Already I have warned that boy of that," declared the Shaggy Man. At this Oho began to cry. "I want my Unc Nunky!" he exclaimed. "I know how he can be restored to life, and I'm going to do it, Ozma or no Ozma. What right has this girl ruler to keep my Unc Nunky a statue forever?" "Don't worry about that just now," advised the Scarecrow. "Go on to the Emerald City, and when you reach it, when you reach it, have the Shaggy Man take you to see Dorothy. Tell her your story, and I'm sure she will help you. Dorothy is Ozma's best friend, and if you can win her to your side, your uncle is pretty safe to live again." Then he turned to the Woozy and said, "I'm afraid you are not important enough to be introduced to the Sawhorse after all." "I'm a better beast than he is," retorted the Woozy indignantly. "My eyes can flash fire, and his can't." "Is this true?" inquired the Scarecrow, turning to the Munchkin boy. "Yes," said Oho, and told how the Woozy had set fire to the fence. "Have you any other accomplishments?" asked the Scarecrow. "I have a I have a most terrible growl, that is, sometimes," said the Woozy, as Scraps laughed merrily and the Shaggy Man smiled, but the Patchwork Girl's laugh made the Scarecrow forget all about the Woozy. He said to her, "What an admirable young lady you are, and what a jolly good company! We must be better acquainted, for never before have I met a girl with such exquisite coloring or such natural, artless manners." "No wonder they call you the Wise Scarecrow," replied Scraps. "When you arrive at the Emerald City, I will see you again," continued the Scarecrow. "Just now I'm going to call upon an old friend, an ordinary young lady named Ginger, who has promised to repaint my left ear for me. You may have noticed that the paint on my left ear is peeled off and faded, which affects my hearing on that side. Ginger always fixes me up when I get weather worn." When do you expect to return to the Emerald City? Asked the Shaggy Man. I'll be there this evening, for I'm anxious to have a long talk with Miss Scraps. How is it, Sawhorse? Are you equal to a swift run? Anything that suits you suits me, returned the Sawhorse. So the Scarecrow mounted to the jeweled saddle and waved his hat, when the Sawhorse darted away so swiftly that they were out of sight in an instant. Just taking a look, y'all. My computer just started dying. I have been, thank you. Hello, how are you, Alice? It's good to show you. It's good to see you. Alec Longoria, it's good to see you. All right, well, on account of my eyes are starting to get a little droopy, as well as I think my computer is starting to. Let me try something. I want to get one more chapter out of the way. Go. It's great. It reminds me of my kid mom make us read each other out loud. My family sitting in the living room listening. Yeah, I have to, and I do want to get through one more chapter to keep them 7. Plugged in my computer, but my phone is now unplugged, so we'll see if all my electronics can hold on while we get through this last chapter. This is chapter 14, and probably the last chapter we'll do tonight. And then we'll find somebody to go and raid. And I really appreciate everybody joining me on this Monday reading, 12 of you here. For chapter 14, Oho breaks the law. No. What a queer man, remarked the Munchkin boy, when the party had resumed its journey. And so nice and polite, added Scraps, bobbing her head. I think he is the handsomest man I have ever seen come to life. Handsome is as handsome does, quoted the Shaggy Man. But we must admit that no living scarecrow is handsomer. The chief merit of my friend is that he is a great thinker, and in Oz it is considered good policy to follow his advice. I didn't notice any brains in his head, observed the glass cat. You can't see 'em work, but they're there all right, declared the Shaggy Man. I hadn't much confidence in his brains myself when I first came to Oz, for a humbug wizard gave them to him. But I was soon convinced that the Scarecrow is really wise, and unless his brains make him so, such wisdom is unaccountable. Is the Wizard of Oz a humbug? Asked Oho. Not now. He was once. But he has reformed and now assists Glinda the Good, who is the royal sorceress of Oz, and the only one licensed to practice magic or sorcery. Glinda has taught our old wizard many good and clever things, so he is no longer a humbug. They walked a little while in silence, and Oho said, If Ozma forbids the crooked magician to restore Unc Nunkie to life, what shall I do? Shaggy Man shook his head. In that case, you can't do anything, he said. But don't be discouraged yet. We will go find Princess Dorothy and tell her your troubles, and then we will let her talk to Ozma. Dorothy has the kindest little heart in the world, and she has been through so many troubles herself that she's sure to sympathize with you. Is Dorothy the little girl who came here from Kansas? Asked the boy. Yes, in Kansas. She was Dorothy Gale. I used to know her there, and she brought me to the land of Oz, but now Ozma has made her a princess, and Dorothy's Aunt Em and Uncle Henry are here too. Here the Shaggy Man uttered a long sigh, and then he continued, It's a queer country, this land of Oz, but I like it nevertheless. What is queer about it? Asked Scraps. You, for instance, he said. Did you see no girls as beautiful as I am in your own country? She inquired. None with the same gorgeous variety beauty, he confessed. In America, a girl stuffed with cotton wouldn't be alive, nor would anyone think of making a girl out of a patchwork quilt. What a queer country America must be, she exclaimed in great surprise. The Scarecrow, whom you say is wise, told me I am the most beautiful creature he has ever seen. I know, and perhaps you are, from a Scarecrow point of view, replied the Shaggy Man, but why he smiled as he said it, Scraps could not imagine. As they drew nearer the Emerald City, the travelers were filled with admiration for the splendid scenery they beheld. Handsome houses stood on both sides of the road, and each had a green lawn before it as well as a pretty flower garden. "In another hour," said the Shaggy Man, "we shall come in sight of the walls of the royal city." He was walking ahead with Scraps, and behind them came the Woozy and the Glass Cat. Oho had lagged behind, for in spite of the warnings he had received, the boy's eyes were fastened to the clover that bordered the road of the yellow bricks, and he was eager to discover if such a thing as six-leaf clover really existed. Suddenly he stopped short and bent over to examine the ground more closely. Yes, here at last was a clover with 6 spreading leaves. He counted them carefully to make sure. In an instant his heart leaped with joy, for this was one of the important things he had come for. One of the things that would restore dear Unc Nunkies to life. He glanced ahead and saw none of his companions were looking back. Neither were any of the people about, for it was midway between 2 houses. The temptation was too strong to be resisted. I might search for weeks and weeks and never find another 6-leaf clover, he told himself, and quickly, plucking the stem from the plant, he placed the prized clover in his basket, covering it with the other things he carried there. Then, trying to look as if nothing had happened, he hurried forward and overtook his comrades. The Emerald City, which was the most splendid as well as the most beautiful city in any fairyland, is surrounded by a high, thick wall of green marble, polished smooth and set with glistening emeralds. There were 4 gates, one facing the Munchkin country, one facing the country of the Winkies, one facing the country of the Quadlings, and one facing the country of the Gillikins. The Emerald City lies directly in the center of these 4 important countries of Oz. The gates had bars of pure gold, and on either side of the gateway were built 2 high towers from which floated gay banners. Other towers were set at distances along the walls, which were broad enough for 4 people to walk abreast upon. This enclosure, all green and gold and glittering with precious gems, was indeed a wonderful sight to greet our travelers, who first observed it from the top of a little hill. But beyond the wall was a vast city it surrounded. The hundreds of jeweled spires, domes, and minarets, flaunting flags and banners, reared their crests far above the towers of the gateways. In the center of the city, our friends could see the tops of many magnificent trees, some nearly as tall as the spires of the building, and the Shaggy Man told them that these trees were in the royal gardens of Princess Ozma. They stood a long time on the hilltop, feasting their eyes on the splendor of the Emerald City. "Whee!" exclaimed Scraps, clasping her padded hands in ecstasy. "That'll do for me to live in, all right. No more of the Munchkin country for these patches, and no more of that crooked magician." "Why, you belong to Dr. Pip," replied Oho, looking at her in amazement. "You were made for a servant, Scraps. You are personal property and not your own mistress." "Bother Dr. Pip. If he wants me, let him come here and get me. I'll not go back to his den of my own accord. That's certain. Only one place in the land of Oz is fit to live in, and that's the Emerald City. It's lovely. It's almost as beautiful as I am, Oho." "In this country," remarked the Shaggy Man, "people live wherever our ruler tells them to. It wouldn't do to have anyone live in the Emerald City, you know, for some must plow the land and raise grains and fruits and vegetables, while others chop wood in the forest, or fish in the rivers, or herd sheep and the cattle." "Poor things," said Scraps. "I'm not sure they're not happier than the city people," replied Shaggy Man. "There's a freedom and independence in country life, and not even the Emerald City can give one. I know that lots of the city people would like to get back to the land. The Scarecrow gives to the country, and so do the Tin Woodman and Jack Pumpkinhead. Yet all 3 would be welcome to live in Ozma's palace if they cared to. Much more splendor becomes tiresome, you know. But if we're to reach the Emerald City before sundown, we must hurry, for it is yet a long way off." The entrancing sight of the city had put a new energy into them, and they hurried forward with lighter steps than before. There was much to interest them along the roadway, for the houses were now set more closely together, and they met a good many people who were coming or going from one place to another. All these seemed happy-faced, pleasant people who nodded graciously to the strangers as they passed and exchanged words of greeting. At last they reached the great gateway, just as the sun was setting and adding its red glow to the glitter of the emeralds on the green walls and spires. Somewhere inside the city, a band could be heard playing sweet music and soft, subdued hum. As of many voices reached their ears from the neighboring yards came a low mooing of cows waiting to be milked. They were almost at the gate when the golden bars slid back and a tall soldier stepped out and faced them. Oho thought he had never seen so tall a man before. The soldier wore a handsome green and gold uniform with a tall hat in which he was waving a plume, and he had a belt thickly encrusted with jewels. But the most peculiar thing about him was the long green beard which fell far below his waist and perhaps made him taller than he really was. "Halt!" said the soldier with green whiskers, not in a stern voice, but rather a friendly tone. They halted before he spoke, and stood looking at him. Good evening, Colonel," said the Shaggy Man. "What's the news since I left? Anything important?" "Uh, Bellina has hatched out 13 new chicks," replied the soldier with the green whiskers, "and they're the cutest little fluffy balls you've ever seen. The yellow hen is mighty proud of those children, I can tell you." "She has a right to be," agreed the Shaggy Man. "Let me see, that's about 7,000 chicks she's hatched out now, isn't it, General?" "That at least," was the reply. "You will have to visit Belinda and congratulate her." Bellina and congratulate her. "It will give me pleasure to do that," said the Shaggy Man. "But you will observe that I have brought some strangers home with me. I'm going to take them to see Dorothy." "One moment, please," said the soldier, barring their way as they started to enter the gate. "I'm on duty, and I have orders to execute. Is anyone in your party named Oho the Unlucky?" "Why, that's me!" cried Oho, astonished at hearing his name on the lips of the stranger. The soldier with green whiskers nodded. "I thought so," he said, "and I am sorry to announce that it is my painful duty to arrest you." "Arrest me?" the boy exclaimed. "What for?" "I haven't looked to see," answered the soldier. Then he drew a paper out from his breast pocket and glanced at it. "Oh, yes. You are to be arrested for willfully breaking one of the laws of Oz." "Breaking a law?" said Scraps. "Nonsense, soldier, you're joking." "Not this time," returned the soldier with a sigh. "My dear child, what are you, a rummaging sale, or guess me quick? In me you behold the bodyguard of our gracious ruler, Princess Ozma, as well as a royal army of Oz and the police force of the Emerald City." "And only one man!" exclaimed the Patchwork Girl. "Only one, and plenty enough in my official positions. I had nothing to do for a good many years, so long that I began to fear I was absolutely useless. Until this day. An hour ago I was called to the presence of Her Highness, Ozma of Oz, and told to arrest a boy named Oho the Unlucky, who was journeying from the Munchkin country to the Emerald City and would arrive in a short time. This command so astonished me that I nearly fainted, for it is the first time anyone has merited arrest since I can remember. You are rightly named Oho the Unlucky, my poor boy, since you have broken a law of Oz." "But you are wrong," said Scraps. "Ozma is wrong. You are all wrong, for Oho has broken no laws." "Then he will soon be freed again," replied the soldier with the green whiskers. "Anyone accused of a crime is given a fair trial by our ruler and has every chance to prove his innocence. But just now Ozma's orders must be obeyed." With this, he took from his pocket a pair of handcuffs made of gold and set with rubies and diamonds, and these he snapped over Oho's wrists. Oho got arrested upon arriving to Oz. Hope you're enjoying your dinner, Nana, Katrina, and fam. Kids decided together, dinner menu for the week. I'm just a cook, but love cooking for them. I love everybody in here. I really appreciate you guys being here. Hey, how's it going? What's that? Varial? Varial. Still here. Appreciate you. Sorry, my eyes had to adjust a second. Appreciate you being here, Varial. Something I needed for the night. Absolutely, man. I really appreciate that. I decided to do one more. Now we are done. That is the end of our 14th chapter. So, hey, Ernie. It's always good to see you. Always good to see you, Ernie. We're just wrapping up for the night, actually. We just finished 7 chapters of The Patchwork Girl of Oz. Now I'm done, yes. Now I'm done. And I'll be able to eat some dinner. Perfect timing, too. I just started to get really hungry. Been watching on the TV. Let's go. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, as always, Ernie. Uh, let's see. We have the Pokey prices right. We can go and see JR. We can go and see Jay's Corner. We can go see Vicariously. Let's go and hang out with Pokey Price is Right, shall we? Of course, if you decide, you can. To join us at JR's. We'll probably play some games and do all that. So, like all good stories, absolutely. We will finish the book in the next stream for sure. There's only 7 chapters left, so we will do that. Absolutely, Varial. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate all of you being here. We will be live again on Thursday, back with the Pokemon streams. I did just send out a whole bunch of mail, so expect mail to be arriving to y'all. Good night, Uncle Brengus, from all of us. Yes, good night, good night. Yep, watching on the TV here too. I appreciate you, Rafa. The stream is designed for the master lurkers, so really, really appreciate y'all being here. Let's go and say hi to our good old friend JR. And always remember, y'all, to go out and get everything that you set out to get, and don't let anything stop you. But take $0 to be a good person. Can't wait to get me. Yeah, absolutely, Ernie. I definitely, yeah, something's coming to you. So, but $0 to be a good person, y'all. So remember, always do it through peace, love, and Pokemon. And I will see you guys back here on Thursday. Have a beautiful night. Thank you all. I appreciate you. Much love.